I have an all-electric vehicle for the past 1 week, and I'm going to go over mainly some information about level 1 and level 2 charging for beginners and somewhat for advanced users. Also, there's a lot of misinformation out there. The level 1 charger will charge at a maximum of 12 amps on a 15 amp circuit, or sometimes it will be a 12 amp circuit. So I believe this is 15 amp, so that would be, the gauge wire would be I think a 12.3 instead of 14.3. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. And let's see here. This is a brand new, innovative Equinox all-electric vehicle that I haven't had any trouble with. This one has just a few little quirks. For example, the dash has too much reflectivity, and so there is a bulletin about that where the manufacturer is providing a dash cover to reduce the reflectivity. The windshield wipers is a new innovative design that is superior to anything else in the world, but the problem with that is it's so new that only one other company makes it other than GM, and so I had to special order some from that company. With this vehicle, hey, you got my spot. As far as programming charging, I have a choice between level 1 and level 2. Level 1 is 120 volts at maximum 12 amps. And the reason why they have the 8 amp option is because you might have a shared circuit. So on that same outlet, there may be other things using it, such as, I don't know, a computer or whatever, TV. In that case, you want to choose 8 amps. But if it's a dedicated outlet, then you want to choose the 12 amps. Mine is dedicated. And then on level 2, which I'm going to go over now, is 240 volts, and I think it's a maximum of 50 amps. So that's significantly faster charging than what that is there. So I'm going to go over some tips and tricks regarding the 240 volt charging, which I'm in the middle of installing the 240 volt 50 amp outlet right here. It's not expensive. If you run a long wire, that would be expensive. Other videos I've watched about the level 2 charging, which again is 50 amp, 240 volts, talk about how it's not necessary and it's just a luxury if you just so happen to have too much money to spend or whatever. I disagree with those statements. I think it's a very important addition to charging at home. And by the way, charging at home, you save more money that way versus going to charging stations, because when you go to a charging station, you are paying for their infrastructure, because this kind of stuff is expensive. The parts and labor are very expensive, and so you're paying a premium there. It's still cheaper than gas, especially post U.S.-Israel against Iran war. Still much cheaper than that. But you want to ideally charge at home. It's a lot cheaper. And it's better because you know your own equipment is good. So to install a level 2, you need to go into your home. Well, first you get a permit from your city to get permission to do it. And the purpose of the permit is so that they'll send out an inspector when you're done with the install to make sure it's done legal and right. Don't even attempt this if you don't know exactly what you're doing, because if you touch a 240 volt live piece of metal, it can be fatal. So don't attempt this if you don't know exactly what you're doing. Let's see here. So I have experience installing this sub panel, plus I have completely reinstalled this entire system here. This has been all completely redone. So I have vast experience. Also, I've installed this whole home surge protector, and for the inverter generator, lots of things attached to it. Anyway, back to level 2. Now the wire gauge for level 2 charging is going to be 6 gauge, 4 wires. You need 4 wires because the black and white are hot. Each one is 120 volts, and combined together will create 240 volts. And the benefit of 240 volts, and going back to the other videos who say upgrading to level 2 is just a luxury, not necessary, it's not more efficient. I disagree. It is more efficient depending on the length of your charging cord and all that, because 240 volts is twice as efficient, at least, compared to 110. Let me go back to the cable. So here I'm using scrap cable that I just so happen to have in stock. This is 6 gauge, but it only has 3 wires. So I have on special order 1 red wire, 6 gauge, that I will add to the conduit. See right here, you don't see the red wire. And this is also called, the reason why I'm touching it, because it's not live. This is called a NEMA, oh shoot, I forgot. Anyway, it's a NEMA plug. Let me pause and go online to get you the exact name of it. Yeah, here it is. A NEMA 14-50, very similar to 50 amp RV. I'm not sure it's exactly the same. I think it is. And then you also have to have a 50 amp 2-pole GFCI breaker. GFCI is going to be the type that has the white pigtail on it. And GFCI is ground fault circuit interruption. So GFCI, they are a lot more expensive. Sometimes on Amazon you can get a used very good one. That's what I did, because I usually have great luck getting used on Amazon. Huge discount. It might have a scratch on it or something. Who cares? As long as it's the integrity is valid. So make sure it's a 50 amp, even though it may be only allowing, your cord may only allow 38 amps, you still have to have a 50 amp breaker. And make sure it's the correct brand. Mine just so happens to be this exact common brand Square D home line, but there are several other types. You cannot mix and match them. When I do start EV level 2 charging, I won't be able to use, I still will use J1772. There are only 2 types. You have J1772 and Tesla. So I have the J1772 because this is not a Tesla. But for my charging cord, here is the charger box, and the end is the standard 120 outlet. I will be switching it to this. What is it? 14-50? NEMA 14-50. But this is, I think, the J1772. that goes to the charger, and then this will go into the wall outlet. And I think this allows up to 38 amps, but I can upgrade to one that allows up to 50. And especially with a short cable like this is only going to be 7 feet long. That's very short for a 240 volt circuit. Therefore, the efficiency will be very great. As far as where to put your receptacle, it's just up to you. You need to keep in mind how long your charger cord is and make sure it reaches. I did not want to run mine all the way over to the other side for a couple reasons, because doing that I lose efficiency. And on this side it's more accessible for parking on that side of the building, the garage. Now, when choosing where to install your 50 amp GFCI breaker, you want to keep it close to your main shutoff for efficiency purposes. The higher voltage things need to be closer to your main shutoff. Most of the time the main shutoff is on top. Mine is on the bottom. So you see the heavier amperage items on the bottom and the lighter amperage on top. You don't have to, but it is highly recommended, and you certainly do want to have your surge protector breaker on the very bottom if you have one, which I do recommend. That will protect your vehicle from lightning surges also. Oh, you know what? I just thought, by the way, these electric vehicles can serve as a generator to your whole house should the power go out. It will send the power through the charging cord into your house. I think automatically, but I'm not for sure. So we no longer need generators. That one I bought at Costco, so I can return it. But I probably won't, because in Florida, I like to have the peace of mind of an inverter generator that can power my air conditioners a long time, which this can too, but I want to retain the battery charged in this when the power is out, which could be out for weeks. Probably no longer than 2 weeks. Okay, going back to this, you need 2 poles, 2 slots to have room for a 50 amp breaker. My breaker is on special order, so this is a good time to show you the mid-level or the mid-process install of this level 2 charger or 50 amp RV receptacle. It could be both, but for my purpose it's going to be level 2 charging. I don't plan on getting a 50 amp RV or even having any guests who have a 50 amp RV, which, by the way, 50 amp RVs can plug into 30 amp just fine, or even 15. All right, back to level 2 charging. I have no experience with level 2 charging, only level 1 with this and my innovative Mercedes van that I don't have anymore, but it was the world's first to use a J1772 level 1 charger to charge the RV battery. And so that's what my background is, all going back about 10 years ago. Yeah, around 2016 is when I started getting into J1772 Tesla battery modules and chargers. On the front of the car, it'll flash a green light to let you know that it's charging. You can check it with your vehicle's app to see what the status is that way if you have a signal, because these have a transponder that communicate with the headquarters, the data center of the manufacturer. So it could be a little slow doing it that way through the app. The fastest way, obviously, is going to be to just physically check your dashboard to see what the status is. This is a very innovative, high-tech EV. It actually has a radar system in the front for front end collision avoidance. That's been around a few years, but that's still, pretty impressive because it's so new. Oh yeah, it also helps to keep your vehicle in a climate controlled garage, which this one is. You see that up there? That is a 4-ton mini split. That's like the world's largest mini split. So this is kept very comfortable in here. The vehicles will not let you drive away while it's plugged in. And if you forget to close the door all the way, you'll get a warning light on your dash. I have a lot of still surplus of the 6-gauge wire. I'm going to have to cut approximately right here. I want to leave just a little bit of slack, but not too much when I connect to the 50 amp breaker. A little bit of slack in case that breaker gets relocated to the other side or a little bit higher. You want to give it a pretty good half a foot at least of slack, preferably about a foot. And you are allowed to loop about maybe one time in there for the slack. A nice little loop right there would be good. For 240 volts, that's not gonna be any problem. To attach the box to the wall, this is a solid concrete wall, so I had to use a hammer drill to get through there. Well, you don't have to use a hammer drill for holes that small, but you need a concrete drill bit, and then get this 4 screws is pretty good. Make sure that they're big enough not to go through the hole. You don't want that popping out. Code does require it to be anchored to the wall every 3 feet. So I did double that because 3 feet is in the middle. So I did 1 on each side, 1 anchor on each side to be super covered and please the inspector. When I get the additional wire installed, the red connected, then I can screw this back on. But for purposes of inspection, I have to leave this off like that, exposed, for the inspector to make sure it's connected correctly, to make him happy. And then also I will need that breaker off. Well, in this case it'll be flipped that way. I need it flipped off for his safety, so when he comes over to here and to inspect. Well, actually it'd be really hard for him to touch anything there because there's no exposed hot wire. Even if you touch right there, that's not hot. That's just a color plastic. The hotness is 10 millimeters deep down in there. The same thing here. So there's ground that won't do anything to you. So yeah, that won't be a problem. Oops, earlier did I say the black and white are going to be each 120 volt? No, it's going to be a black and a red. Each of those will be 120 volts and the white will be neutral. Sorry, I don't do this every day, so I had to, good thing I caught that. Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it'd be 120 for red, 120 for black, combined together will be 240, and the white will be a neutral.